Riga, and this is my educational leader interview. The person I chose to interview is Emily Ford. She is a media specialist at Hunterdon Central Regional High School, and I conducted the interview on January 28th, 2022. Unfortunately, I did test positive for COVID-19 this past Wednesday, so we were unable to conduct an in-person interview. In addition to that, I wasn't and haven't been feeling the greatest as well as looking the best, so I figured it would be best to conduct an over the phone interview just because it would allow me to get the crucial information needed for this assignment as well as, allow myself to recover from this as I was feeling sick. I did include a picture of me and Emily from my high school graduation as I did get the opportunity to work with her over the 4 years of my high school career and have stayed in touch with her after. She has had an extraordinary impact on my life, and it was an honor to interview her. When looking at the roles and responsibilities that Emily has, she stated that she has many different roles when it comes to her job as a media specialist. Her main location is in the IMC, which is equivalent to a library, but within the library there are many different formal and informal learning opportunities for students. Emily described that there is a space called the Makerspace that allows students to explore their creativity through a variety of different materials provided. In addition to the Makerspace, there are different machines, such as 3D printers, that allow for students to work on personal projects and explore their interests. In addition to these experiences in the IMC, Emily explained that she goes to specific classes and teaches them lessons about citations, how to conduct research and look for good articles, writing, and grammar. She is in charge of creating these lessons and teaching them to the students within these classes. Emily stated that she presents the information of the lesson through a PowerPoint and then provides worksheets for the students to practice the information that they were just taught. This allows her to see how well the students are retaining the information being taught and allows for her to see if she is presenting the information in a way that the students understand. When looking at this slide, the picture I have included is an actual picture of the Makerspace that is in Hunterdon Central, and this is kind of where these informal learning experiences in the IMC are held. When looking at Emily's leadership style, I would describe her as a self-organizing leader. This is because it can be described as when a leader has goals and objectives but provides the individuals loose guidelines and directions. Emily stated that her main goal is to allow for students to explore their creativity, social skills, and work on the maturity of their writing. By providing her students with goals, she allows them to reach these goals by whatever means they choose. This allows the students to work at their own pace and learn through a variety of ways. The students are able to choose the right fit for them, all while working towards the goal that Emily sets. This allows the students to explore their creativity and work on their skills independently. Emily creates goals that she sets for her students and allows for them to reach those goals through whatever means they feel necessary. She is there to aid and help them throughout this situation, but provides them with the freedom to reach their goals independently. When looking at data-driven decision-making, Emily explained that she uses the inventory of the Makerspace to determine the materials being used the most. While conducting an inventory of the materials, she writes down all the numbers of the materials being used and not being used. She explains that she uses this information to create different learning objectives in arts and crafts classes. She creates a workshop that uses the materials not being used often and uses that as a way to teach students how to manipulate the materials and incorporate them into their own projects. In addition to this, Emily uses the accuracy of the lessons to create new learning objectives for the students. The accuracy and quote-unquote grades of the practice assignments she hands out allows her to collect data on the information that the students have retained. Depending on what information is retained, she is able to create new lesson plans that present the information in different ways in hopes that the students will get a better understanding. If all the information is retained, she goes on to further their knowledge by introducing the students to challenging writing styles and information. Like stated previously, Emily has many different responsibilities as a media specialist working for Hunterdon Central. In the IMC, she is responsible for helping students with any questions they have in regards to writing, reading, citations, etc. In addition to that, she creates learning experiences through the makerspace and 3D printing machines. This allows students to explore their creativity. She stated that she is responsible for the materials that are provided in the workerspace, as well as holding arts and crafts workshops for the students. On top of her responsibilities in the IMC, she teaches lessons in different classrooms regarding writing, grammar, citations, and literature. Throughout these lessons, students are able to learn crucial information that they can relate to the content being taught in the classroom. It will allow for them to expand upon their knowledge and writing skills and learn to complete work at a more mature level. When I asked Emily about other learning experiences she provides, she went on to explain that she holds writing workshops and tutoring sessions for students after school and during lunchtime. She explained that she works with the students if they are struggling writing an essay and provides them with the necessary resources to complete their assignment to the best of their abilities. When I asked Emily about how she assesses and evaluates students, she states that she uses practice assignments after a lesson plan. These practice assignments allows for students to try different writing styles, citations, and a mature level of writing. Once the students have completed this assignment, she collects them and evaluates the accuracy and development of the students' writing. She stated that she oftentimes spends a week in the classroom providing different lessons each day. She uses the assessments to develop a lesson plan for the following day. This allows her to focus on the content areas that the students are struggling with, as well as the areas that the students are doing well in. Optimism is something that I tend to struggle with, and was excited to learn Emily's perspective on optimism and how she uses it to make decisions. Emily first started off by reassuring me that optimism can be hard within her position, as some other teachers do not view her job as real because she is not in the classroom all day creating lessons on math, history, or science. Rather than focusing on the negative thoughts and opinions of others, she keeps the students' best interests in mind. She said that she is extremely lucky to provide students with formal and informal learning opportunities that they can take with them throughout the rest of their lives. She teaches in a way that allows students to focus on their abilities and strengths rather than their weaknesses. This allows herself and students to attack any problems at hand with a mentality that they can solve it or achieve their goals, rather than going into a situation with a negative attitude. It allows for students to be excited to learn and work, and provides them with the mindset necessary for success. My apologies. From knowing Emily and after interviewing her, I can tell that her main goal as an educational leader is to provide unique learning experiences to all students and ensure that all students have fair and equal opportunities. An example of this is when the Board of Education was going to cut funding for the IMC. Emily stated that she was extremely shocked by this and knew she had to do something about it. She gathered a group of students, former and current, as well as colleagues, to create different speeches and letters of impact to be read aloud at the Board of Education meeting. In addition to that, she also presented a speech and advocated for the students that would be hurt by this cut in funding. Rather than worrying about what this meant in regards to her job, she was focused on how this funding cut would negatively impact the students at Hunterdon Central. Through many speeches read aloud, the Board of Education decided on not cutting the funding for the IMC. Emily explained that she was able to advocate for the betterment of her students through speech and truly only fought to ensure that her students have opportunities for educational experiences. Although I've known Emily for about 8 years at this point, I still feel that I was able to learn a lot more about her role as an educational leader throughout this interview. I was able to see the ins and outs of her job and take that information and apply it to my future career. It is extremely interesting to see how an educational leader can create learning opportunities and experiences outside of a conventional classroom. In addition, it was exciting to see how different materials and strategies can be used to allow students to explore their creativity and grow on a personal level throughout their high school career. Rather than focusing on solely education, one of my career tracks allows me to work with students outside of, a conventional classroom. I feel that this interview has allowed me to see that there are way more opportunities outside of the classroom and how to present information for the betterment of the students. These are the references that I used throughout my presentation, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you all for listening.